So there's been a lot of buzz around Steve Harvey's recent comment that resurfaced actually from about 10 years ago. And what he said was that he believes that men and women cannot be friends. That it's impossible for a straight heterosexual man to be in a relationship with a straight heterosexual woman and not have some form of romantic ulterior motive. So for me, I actually totally agree with what he said. And the funny thing about it is if I had heard this a few years ago, I would have been like, no, this guy's totally wrong. Like, that's not true. Like, I have guy friends and it's totally platonic. Like, I would have completely disagreed. But the more I get to know men, just the more I've lived, the more experiences I've had, the more I've been in a long-term relationship. Now I kind of take the stance of, yeah, I think he's totally right. I think it's nearly impossible for a straight heterosexual man to be in a relationship with a straight heterosexual woman and there not be something, even if it's in the back of his mind, where he's hoping that it could be more than friendship. There not be some desire in him to have a sexual experience with her. And I'll explain why. My personal opinion is that generally speaking, men find the emotions, the emotional makeup, the emotional psyche of women overwhelming. It either overwhelms them or it bores them. And men and women were created so differently. Like the things that interest men versus the thing that interests women are so different. The way that we are, created, the things that drive us biologically, like it's different. And I know we live in this society where, there's definitely a push to establish equality and to redefine what is gender roles, to redefine what do men do, what do women do, what is a man, what is a woman. Like there's this push to essentially redefine everything. And I think in the effort to do this, so we've lost a lot of just basic foundational truths. And again, those truths are that men and women are created differently. I mean, there's entire books dedicated to that truth right there. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, we communicate differently, all these different things. So based upon that alone, I believe that men aren't necessarily interested in what women have to say. I know that may sound horrible, but I think, generally speaking, a man is not attracted to a woman because of what she is saying. Oftentimes it's because of what she's not saying, or it's because of her feminine qualities, or because of her sexuality. But it's not necessarily because she's saying things all the time. It's the opposite. Generally, if she says too much, then he gets overwhelmed and it becomes an annoyance. And I mean, you even hear this, like, oh, women are complicated. We know that's like just a common trope almost. It's like women are so complicated. There's even verses in the Bible that talk about this. It talks about it being better to live in a shack than to live in a mansion with a nagging wife, or comparing a nagging wife to a broken faucet that drips water. Like, there's scriptures to support this point that a woman that talks too much is actually an annoyance to the man in her life. And so I don't think men seek women because they want necessarily friendly conversations. I think they are friends, quote unquote, friends with women because they find her attractive on some sense, and because maybe there's a feminine essence about her that is attractive or he likes. But again, it goes back to him being attracted. And again, I wouldn't have said this a few years ago, but the only reason I've come to this conclusion is because I have seen over and over again, not only in my life, but even in the life of my friends. Like I have single friends, for example, where they'll talk to me one day and it's like, oh, this my friend, he's helped me with this. He's been so nice. He offered to do this. He took off for work to do that. And it's like, he's just being this nice, Mr. Nice Guy. And I'm telling her, hey, if he's doing that, he wants something in return. And she'll be like, oh, no, it's not this. It doesn't mean that. And then lo and behold, a few days later, she's like, oh, my gosh, he hit on me, or he did this, or he made a move. And I'm like, duh, that was obvious. There's no way this guy is going to be spending time with you, talking to you, helping you just for the heck of it. He's doing that because he wants something in return. That should be obvious. And I don't know if it's just because men and women we're just created so differently that we don't see things through the man point of view, or we just don't understand, or just certain things that should just be so obvious are not. But I think seeing that situation over and over and over again repeated, and I'm just like, yeah, it's Every single time I see that, every single time I see that, yep, it's because a man wants something more. And he's been friend zoned, and he's hoping that maybe one day he will be unfriend zoned. And I know there's some men out there will say, well, look, that guy, he's a simp for doing that. Like, he shouldn't be wasting his time doing all these things for a woman who's not interested. He should go and explore his options. So I do know that there's men now who are like not even taking on that role. But for the men who are, I believe that there's something else driving them. They're not doing that because they love listening to her talk or because they love the emotional connection. Because I don't even think guys think like that. Guys tend to be much more logically driven. I mean, all you have to do is just listen to the manosphere and then go listen to popular YouTube videos from women. And you will see that men are generally driven by logic, and the content that is created by women has a lot less to do with logic and has a lot more to do with experience and emotion. This is just what I've seen. So, I mean, that alone proves the fact that, like, yeah, we are driven by different things. So, no, I don't believe a man is being a friend to a woman because he loves her conversation all the time, or because he just wants to hear her speak, or because he loves her emotions, or because he just wants that friend, that emotional support. Nope, I don't think he needs that. I think he's doing it because her feminine essence, and because he's attracted to her, and because he wants something more. And he's hoping that one day that will be. But those are just my personal thoughts. But what do you think? Do you think men and women can be friends? Or is that impossible? Let me know your thoughts. Leave your question, comments, concerns in the comment section below. And thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far. And talk later.